State on Friday and Rutgers on Saturday. Questions?
How much of last year's matches from Penn State are in your mind this week?
Quite a bit. I feel like I'm not one to shy away from the elephant in the room, so I think as long as we keep it lighthearted, it'll be a really fun week.
How do you keep those losses lighthearted?
That's just a different time, to be honest. Like, I think the rivalry is still there, but at the end of the day, like, that game was almost a year ago. There's not much we can do about it now, right? So, not to dwell on the loss, but like appreciate the rivalry and use it as fuel.
How have you been able to use that fuel for the younger players who aren't around and know what it was like the past couple of years?
Yeah, we always like telling stories, sharing moments that we had during the matches, kind of give them a taste of what it's like. And some of the girls have personal relationships with other girls from club or USA, so there's always some type of relationship they have to the programs. But most of it is kind of educating them through stories.
Bergen, how big is this match for you, knowing what the season goals are to win the Big Ten and have a good seed? How big is the match this weekend for you against Penn State?
Yeah, I mean, games like this always kind of have some sort of implications for postseason. So we know what our goals are, and that's a Big Ten championship and a national championship. So I mean, every game matters, truly. That's the reality of it is, yeah, we really want to beat Penn State, but we also have to go and beat Rutgers the next day too. So, but yeah, I mean, like Becca said, it's a big rivalry and it'll be a fun game, and just kind of taking this week and having some really good practices to go into it is going to be really important.
Rebekah, as a blocker, how do you approach facing someone like Kennedy?
You have to treat them like everyone else. So that's my biggest thing is consistency. You know, all of a sudden you don't just flip a switch, right? So typically in high-stress situations, you fall back on your training, and if your training is mindful and disciplined, that's what you're going to do during a match. I would say someone like her, I honestly want to see how she is during like fourth and fifth sets, because then we might see more of her tendencies. I think first and second set, that kind of attacker, they're going to hit everything, probably at full force, and you just kind of have to roll with the punches. But fourth and fifth set behavior, that's going to be more on my mind of if the game does go long, like what does she want to hit that's comfortable.
Do you guys like back-to-backs, or would you prefer a day or two in between, and how do you approach that aspect of this weekend?
I personally really like back-to-backs. I think it might be different for the hitters who have to jump all the time. I guess I have to jump too, but I like it. I think it's cool. It keeps you in the game mode, and sometimes long away trips can make you more tired than 2 games back-to-back, so that's kind of how I see it. Like, having a 4 or 5 day away trip kind of gets me out of my routine and almost takes longer to recover from than just 2 games in a row. So I personally like it, but you might have a very different answer.
Yeah, definitely not to that extent, but I can appreciate like a quick turnaround on a weekend. That's nice. But honestly, it's just like discipline. You know, sometimes you just have things thrown at you, and this is Division I volleyball. You're going to have hard games, but honestly, it's just going to be like eating well, recovering well, and then you're back up again the next day.
Hey, Bergen, you've had 5 kills the past 2 matches, which is a season high for you. Last year in 36 matches, you had 5 kills only twice, so you set that mark. What is making you that much more effective in the new DBK offense to be more aggressive on offense?
Yeah, I think it's just our offense has been flowing really well, and that opens up a lot of things for me. So taking advantage of that and knowing just when the other team's not really focusing much on me or looking at me much, then I know that I can throw it down a couple times. But I mean, you really can't dump if your other hitters aren't playing well and your other hitters aren't opening things up for you. So the fast offense and just making the other teams kind of have to guess a little bit has helped a lot to open things up for me.
For either of you, what's the message going to be for the young players that haven't played at Penn State before?
I mean, we've talked a little bit about it. It's one of the loudest gyms in the country, and so just being prepared for that, and we've been doing some things in practice to prepare for that. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, yeah, they haven't played there before, but they know we lost last year. They watch the games. Like, they feel the frustration we feel too, and maybe it's not to the extent that we do, but they know what they're getting themselves into a little bit, and we've talked about that at practice, and just the fans are going to be on top of you, and they're going to say some crazy things, and that's the fun part about it.
Yeah.
You mentioned every game matters with Rutgers. How do you not make Friday's game bigger than what it is, given obviously the rivalry, what happened last year, the stakes when it just comes to the conference race and all that?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a hard part about back-to-back games, and we had this last year too. We played Penn State, and then the next day we went to Maryland, and we dropped a set to Maryland last year. So it definitely, it's hard, and we're not going to be perfect about it. Like, we know that Penn State is a huge game just for down the road too. So giving ourselves grace and knowing that we should take it all in and enjoy the rivalry and enjoy the fun environment, and but still have to wake up and win another game the next day. So I don't know if I really have a great answer for that, but just giving ourselves grace and knowing we're not going to be perfect about that.
Yeah, it's just about maturity, honestly. I do also want to answer your question about my message to the freshmen, and it would be to embrace it. Like, again, never make the moment bigger than what it is, but also enjoy it. Like, don't try and walk in and act like you're too cool for school. Like, acknowledge that they are a good team, but enjoy the environment, because not everywhere we go are we going to have fans that outnumber Husker fans, and so it'll be different, but it's also going to be really fun.
Rebekah, you guys haven't left the state of Nebraska since maybe August. What are you looking forward to? Take out volleyball, just about being on the road with your team.
It's fun. I had some great videos in the past. Like, when we're usually on the plane, I like to go through my memories, and the away trips are always, they're a grind. You know, you got school, you have life, your body gets tired from training, and so when you're all kind of like stuck in the hotel and you don't know what to do for an hour or two, like, that's when fun stories are shared, and I feel like I actually get to know the girls just because we're all in it together. So definitely good memories.
Penn State has a few more losses. They're not in the top 10. Does this still feel like a big match or an important match for you?
Oh, absolutely. I still see them as a team from last year. So I know they have some new firepower, but I don't know. Again, I'm going to lead by example with this, but I got a grudge. So I want to kick some butt.
Rebekah, Dani talked about last week how the scouting report's a little more filled out now because you have tape on the opponents. I mean, do you notice that as a block here, there's more tendency for this year's teams when you're preparing for opponents?
Yeah, like preparation?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, just kind of like what we talked about, just like recognizing your opponent. First, second set, they're definitely going to come out hot, but then as the game goes on, that's when you start to see more tendencies, and making sure that we're really disciplined on the scout.
How do you feel like you guys
Have been blocking as a team as a whole, and where is that compared to where you want to be in December?
I feel like pretty good. You know, we've had weaker starts in the past, but I feel like blocking has been pretty good. Our floor defense could always be better. But as of after week one, I feel like we're in a pretty good place.
You guys have had, really only 2 true road games this season. You feel like Dani approaches road games any differently, or is it pretty similar to what it looked like in years past?
I'd say it's pretty similar overall. It's just the big thing is adjusting to the gym, and especially Penn State's gym, there's a lot of space behind the end lines, so that can mess with your depth perception, but that's kind of what we've always focused on, is just adjusting and making sure that once we're in the game, we can just play our normal volleyball.
Bergen, how do you think it's different when Nebraska comes to Penn State as opposed to most of the Big Ten teams?
I mean, it's going to be louder, there's going to be more energy, it's going to be a super cool environment, and we know that we bring that kind of crowd, and it's really exciting, and we know that along with that, we're also going to get everyone's best shot. So like you said, maybe they have a couple more losses this year, but to Nebraska, that doesn't really matter because everyone's going to come out and play their absolute best, whether it's Penn State or it's Rutgers. So just coming in every night and trusting what we've been doing in practice. But yeah, I think we're all really excited, and we know that Penn State gets rowdy, so it's going to be fun.
Bergen, when Nebraska's, I mean, they started to up 9 aces last weekend. I mean, can you tell that as a setter when the passing is struggling a bit too? Are you having to cover more ground to get those passes, or and you look at the stats like it confirms that, or can you tell how Nebraska's passing based on what you have to do as a setter?
A little bit. It kind of depends on the game, but a lot of times it's just I remind them like high middle and I can set anybody. Like we don't need perfect passes every time, and we have a lot of great passers back there, and it can be hard to want to be a perfectionist, and so I know that they want to get me perfect passes every time, but it's always just the reminder of, hey, if you get it high in the middle of the court, like we can work with that. So yeah, it's been a big focus, and I have full confidence in our passers back there, even though there was a rough game. But yeah, it's a very mental part of the game, and so just going back to the basics is really important.
You got to experience a NASCAR race. Is that your first NASCAR race? What was that
Yeah.
experience like?
Definitely my first NASCAR race. I'd never been to anything like that, but it was super cool. We got to see the behind the scenes and go in their hauler, just see kind of where they travel for, I think it's like 38 weeks out of the year. And we got to see them like putting the car together before the race, and we got to be in the pit for some pit stops. So it was really interesting and definitely a new world that I'd never been a part of, but super cool. And Red Bull has some cars and some racers, so I got to talk to their drivers, and it was fun.
Anything you take from that? The road life that you get to apply to what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, theirs sounds way harder than ours. They said they travel every weekend from like February to November, except for Easter. So it's a lot for them, and they go around the country, around the world. But it was cool to just be back there and see their kind of like pregame ritual. Like they were just kind of hanging out, like super chill. And I was like, wow, how are you guys so chill? You have to go 200 miles an hour for the next 3 hours. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely a different world. And but it was cool to just see how the professionals do it, even though it's a completely different sport, like just sticking to their routine. And we have our routine on the road too. So it was cool.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, questions whenever you're ready.
What are your initial thoughts on Penn State?
Penn State, obviously a really great team. They have some serious firepower on the pins. I think their middles do a nice job. Fantastic libero, so not many holes for them in my mind. I know they've had some losses this year that could be unexpected, but I still think this is a team that can contend at a really high level.
Do they look without Izzy?
No, you can't really replace Izzy Stark, just her talent as a setter, her athleticism, but I still, again, they have Kennedy Martin, who I think she could hit off anybody. She's going to be great. They're outside hitters. They have 3 of them that are really, really physical. Setter doesn't affect the libero, so I think they're still a very, very good team.
Penn State obviously ended their season last year, your season at Louisville last year. How, as a collective locker room, you channel that motivation, that energy into the game?
Yeah, we're, I'd say, pretty motivated, and you've kind of like chip on our shoulder week. We know that we're going to have to play really well to go in there and beat them. I know it's sold out, and it's one of the toughest places to play, if not the toughest in the conference. So it's going to be a challenge. But I do think this team, Penn State or not, this team is kind of ready for another challenge and ready for something to really have our sights set on. So I'm fired up for yesterday's practice and the rest of this week, and going into Penn State feeling prepared.
What about for you? You haven't been in a big kind of roadway match in quite a while. What are you looking forward to in that sense?
Yeah, it's funny. We played at Penn State last year when I was at Louisville, and we got rolled. So I also lost to them twice last year. But I'm, again, looking forward to a huge challenge, and just getting back on the road, and wherever Nebraska goes, even though Penn State draws great crowds on their own, but when we go places, it's sold out or near sold out. So I'm just excited for that type of atmosphere again, and like a game that has a lot on the line, and the fans are going to be super into it both ways.
What was your reaction to what Kennedy did against UCLA, hitting?
Not that surprising because she's so good and talented. It's just somebody that we know is going to get their kills. It's just, can you slow her down? I don't know. How do you try to slow her down while maintaining everybody else on their team? I think those are the questions we're answering this week and working to figure out.
Were you surprised by what serve receive did last week in those matches you had? I mean, gave up 9 aces.
A little bit. I mean, 9 aces isn't good, but I mean, I also think that when we're not getting ace, we're passing well, so I guess that's a positive. And our attack percentage is still very, very good. So I'm not overly concerned. I think it's a lot of reasons, why we're kind of getting aced a lot, and I think a lot of them are in our control.
They seem to be, I don't know, bad at judging where the ball's going to fall.
Right.
They let a lot go too. Is that
Yeah.
How do you work on that, or is that just?
I think a lot of communication and relationships, and just the confidence piece. When your passers aren't confident, then they don't want to take those tough serves. So working on just getting more confidence with them and making sure they understand that, like, they're not being evaluated on every single passing stat. Like, that's not how I'm gonna write a passing lineup. So they shouldn't be scared to have a bad pass. It's obviously better than getting ace. So I think it's just more, I don't want to take that one because it's going to go towards my stats. And I also think teams tee off against us and serve really, really tough. And sometimes a lot more of those go in than out. And I felt like Maryland, like if you watch it on film, a lot of those serves are very, very tough. So.
Back to passing for a second. There's a ton of different stats out there. Which ones matter to you?
The scales.
Yeah, the scale, like we pass on a 4-point scale, so I think that gives us a lot of information. And then the in-system pass percentage, I think, is really important. Those are probably the two biggest ones. But I also want to keep reiterating, like, it's our passing number as a group, not Laney passed this, Liv passed this, Harper passed this, Terea passed this. It's like, what are we passing as a group is the important stat, not individually, because it's how do they make each other better or worse or whatever it may be.
You wanted to use that second set to get extended look at the double sub. After watching the tape, how do you feel like Campbell and Allie can help this team?
Yeah, well, volleyball is a team sport, right? So the double sub is great. And I want to use it more than we have been, but then it takes Laney or Liv, who's ever not in the libero jersey, off the court. And I think that is also something to consider because they both have a huge impact, but the double sub can have a huge impact. So I do think it's more of a situational sub and something we're going to look to use here and there when it won't disrupt our passing, or maybe it's against certain servers, but Campbell and Allie are both very good on their own, and of course I want to get them experience as a double sub, but also just experience in case, Campbell needs to go in for Bergen and Allie goes in for Virginia, just to feel confident and ready to go.
Did you have Penn State number 2 in your preseason poll? Your ABC
Ooh,
poll?
I think I probably had Texas, maybe Penn State. I don't remember. I had us 1 and one of them 2.
What did you think of them, knowing what they brought back and then what they were bringing in from freshman portal?
Yeah, well, I think at the time when you look at them and they're bringing back their starting setter who was an All-American and their libero who was, I don't know if she was an All-American. She should have been if she wasn't. So there's 2 really good pieces to start with. And then you add Emmy Selman and Kennedy Martin, and those are 2 great pin hitters and not just 2 great hitters, but 2 great all-around players. It's like, well, the addition of just those 2 is going to significantly raise their stock. And then I know they returned their middles who were great pieces for them last year. So it just felt like they were certainly going to be one of the most talented teams, at least the most talented core 7-8 players in the country.
You mentioned that you like road trips because it gives the team kind of time together. What are you looking forward to about going away this weekend?
Yeah, it's the time together. I'm personally looking forward to some sleep. So having a 4-month-old, I'm like, normally I'd be like sad to be away from my kids, but this might be the first one. I'm like, ooh, I'll catch up on some sleep this one. So.
Do you have one coming for Nashville?
No, they're both staying home this time. But yeah, I just think the time where you really get to focus on yourselves as a team, and there's not that many distractions, and people hanging around the hotel, people in the team room. It just it's a good vibe, and it's also like fun for the coaches. We get to interact with the players a lot more than when we're at home. So I'm looking forward to all those things.
I think a lot of the players know what they signed up for and know kind of the environments, but Virginia, a lot of this is new for her. Does the team have to how do they prepare her for something like playing in Rec Hall?
I don't really think you can prepare somebody till you're in there. Like, that's how I felt last year with my team at Louisville. I've talked about it a lot, and then we get there and we get blown out. So I don't know if talking about it really prepares it. It's just, hopefully in the match, they can help her if she's struggling or focus her attention elsewhere if the crowd becomes a factor. But she's played in some big matches overseas, which is good. So she'll be able to look back on some of her experience and hopefully have some good comparisons.
A lot has been made for Penn State, rightly so. But you have a back-to-back with Rutgers. How do you flush whatever happens on Friday and move to Saturday really quickly?
Yeah, I mean, Rutgers is, I think, really good this year. I think it's one of their better teams, and that's a program that I feel like is taking volleyball more seriously as an athletic department. So, certainly not just a game you can expect to go in there and beat them if you're not prepared. So I think just taking one game at a time and having our team realize that every win is still just a W. Every loss is still just a loss. And Rutgers will just be another chance to add to our resume.
You guys are tied for last in aces per set in Division I. How do you balance wanting more aces versus just serving teams out of system?
The goal is always to get them out of system more than acing. The aces typically come, but from a serving standpoint, we're serving pretty well. And I've said it before, we measure a lot of serving on 3-point runs. I think can players go on runs? That's what will bust a game open. Versus one ace is great, but if you can score 3 in a row, that's huge. So we're going to continue to focus on that more than just aces per set. We also don't have a top spinner or a really unique server that can sometimes skew those statistics.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you guys.